Well, good morning, guys. Another little Tom's take here. This is going to be the subject of another white paper. Clickbait is poisoning the future. It really is. Because if you just look at one thing, all of this, get rich quick, 2 clicks and $20 and you'll be a millionaire. And not to mention all of the AI stuff that's being put up there. You can learn AI in 20 seconds and make $1 million. Well, a normal person wouldn't really pay much attention to that, but it's poisoning our future. Now, here's just one thing that I'd like you to look at, and is the subject of this white paper, is that all of this stuff is put up on the internet. Even if it isn't taken down, if it's just trash, it could be really bad information. In fact, it could be a total lie. But the thing that it goes into the internet, and they're making 1 trillion parameter models now. Now, 13 billion parameter model is the biggest you can run on a regular personal computer, and it's a few $1,000s to even run that, and to run one of these 800 billion models, it takes server farms. It's big. And now somebody's thinking about making Alibaba, or somebody's making 1 trillion. That's a million times more parameter model, and it's going to have to be trained from somewhere. Well, where does it going to get its training from? It's not going to be an army of guys writing a bunch of little data and text. No, it's going to hook into the internet, and it's going to dig through everything. And at this point, it's an arms race to see who can build the biggest and who can build the best and the fastest. And nobody's really saying, are they any good? Are they any use? But, the race is on, and who gets the biggest wins. But the thing is that when we have these people, they're saboteurs, they're suppressive people. They're basically putting up junk to try to get rich quick. And even if that's their lowest motive, get rich quick, there's plenty of agents and actors out there that are putting stuff up that's knowingly bad. They intended it to be bad. It's not supposed to do anybody any good. It's supposed to destroy whatever it comes across. That stuff is out there. And what's happening is that all of this stuff has to be archived someplace. It's going to have to be processed. It's going to have to store it on some server. And if 90% of it is junk or garbage, then all of that junk and garbage not only is costing a lot in infrastructure, it's going to take bigger and bigger and bigger computers just to index the garbage. Not do anything with it, just, index it. Find out anything, just chop it up and index it. And if we're getting 80% garbage out there, it kills it for everybody. Like Spotify, they're crying about, well, there's so much AI generated music that is killing legitimate composers and things. Well, you could generate an AI song that would be wonderful, and it's perfect and it's great, and it ought to sell and it ought to get some royalties. But the fact is that whenever somebody can sit there with some model in their basement, or, even using a regular one, they can generate 5,000 crap songs and give them a nice title and a pretty name and put them out there, and maybe 1 or 2 of them is good, but you got 4,998 that are just pure junk, and you can't just take them down because, violate their rights or something. But the thing is the infrastructure has got to handle it, and they got to keep all that crap. Well, this is all, fine in today's present time. That's a problem, and it's going to be a bigger problem. The more spam and the more junk we get out there, the more infrastructure it's going to have to take just to hold the junk. It's like a landfill. It's supposed to have grass in it, or something in some trash can or something. It's only supposed to have trash, but some joker keeps coming along and putting paint in it. He ruins the whole landfill. Or the vice versa. You've got some hazardous materials disposal site, and it's only made for 1,000 gallons, and here comes somebody with 3 trailer loads of grass and dumps in it. He just filled up a very expensive landfill with grass, and it could have been just left out and let it rot, and it would have been fine. So that's what's happening. People are just putting unfiltered content, junk, trash. They're hoping, that if they put 10,000 out and they sell 2 and they make $20, well, good. But the thing is that there's 98,000 pieces of trash floating around where it shouldn't be in the first place. So of course it kills creators, and we can't just say you can't do that, because some AI stuff is really good and some is really bad. It's all about, if a guy spends several days working on a prompt and doing this, and it takes him a week to make a nice song, and he should get paid for that. It's the same of a guy sitting there writing it on paper and he makes a nice song. He should get paid for that. But we shouldn't be killed by all of these, I don't want to call them status seekers or entrepreneurs, rogue agents. They're exploiters. They're trying to make a quick buck somehow, and they don't care who it hurts. And in most cases, they want to hurt other people. This make a quick buck off of the skin of, some old man's teeth or something, or back or whatever. They're doing a lot of harm. And by the time that you catch them, if you even had a way, or even if you were trying to catch them, see, nobody's trying to catch them. The race is on to get bigger and bigger and faster. Nobody's really saying, hey, we ought to slow this down. This is a subject of a whole nother white paper. It's not a matter we want to throttle the thing. You can't throttle it. And at the speed of the way things go, somebody can put up 5 or 10,000 songs in a matter of an hour or two. And how long is it going to take to try to find all them songs and delete them? Even if you had a minute's warning, and then you knew exactly what songs to look for, how hard would that be to delete 10,000 of them and keep them from propagating? And I'm not even sure what all the protocols are. But even if you were 90% successful and only 10% got through, in the next 5 or 10 years, you're going to have 10% of thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of junk out there on the internet. Guess what happens when you train a trillion parameter model? Guess what it's being trained on? It's being trained on junk. It's looking at it going, oh, this is a popular one, let's log that into memory. And it wasn't a popular one. It was just a whole bunch of spam, or maybe it was a complete lie. But what we're doing by letting these guys get away with it, if we're not, trying to throttle these saboteurs before they ever start, and it's a simple matter to predict patterns. The guy has 200 uploads at 215, 217, 219. They're pretty easy to predict, even for an AI. They're extremely easy to predict. And then you can flag this guy and, block his account. I don't know what kind of social crying and hollering would go on there. But the thing, it's got to be done. It's got to be done, or we're going to have so much trash in our landfill. It's supposed to be good biodegradable trash, and we get cans and bathtubs and all kinds of crap in it that ain't supposed to be there. And now our next super generator, our supercomputers, are going to be trained on all this trash. We've poisoned our future. And we can't let it happen. You see, there's got to be some guardrails here. They're trying to keep it from drawing you a naked picture or say something offensive or, something like this. You can't put enough guardrails up. These agent provocateurs or whatever, that's all they do all day long is try to figure out how to get around the guardrail. And the thing is, they only got to get around the guardrail about 10 minutes. And they've already uploaded, tremendous amount of junk. You can't go running around poking your hole in the finger all the time on a leaky dam, because some of the water's going to get through. It's got to get through before you can ever patch it. So that's what I'm saying here. We're poisoning our future by letting these guys do this and being social and being polite and saying, oh, well, you can't slap his free speech, or I don't care what the motivation is. That the thing is that all of this junk and this nonsense is filling up our landfill, the internet, with trash. And the internet's what we're going to be depending on to train the next generation of computers. So it's going to be a good white paper. I've got 5 books that I'm going to be writing here one of these days, and it won't take long because these are just obvious common sense things that people aren't looking at. That nobody's looking at what would a trillion parameter AI do if it decided to write shit songs and put them on the internet. You see, we got to have some, not just guardrails. We've got to have actively running stuff that's going to detect and then prevent this stuff from ever happening. And it's a small percentage of the people, 10, 12%. There's only very few bad hats and mostly all good hats. But if we're going for this whack-a-mole business, mole jumps up and goes down and you whack, it's too late. The mole already did its thing, And when we're getting into, the speed of computers and things nowadays, it's not a matter of a couple seconds or a couple of minutes, it's a few microseconds. In a second, a tremendous amount of harm can be done. And you can't go whack-a-mole with human reflexes, because by the time you see it and even figure out that something changed, and that's not even figuring it's bad, it's just something changed, and the next 2 or 3 seconds that you think about how am I going to fix it, or is it even a problem? Oh yeah, it's a problem. We got to fix it. All right, what does it take you? 4 or 5 seconds? Even if you were right there on top of it looking at it when it happened. So we got to have systems that move and operate at computer speed. This old whack-a-mole, look at it, think about it a while, and then do something. It's too slow. So anyway, guys, just a little thought here. I'll post this up, and hopefully it'll give somebody some ideas, and maybe we can get some smart people to work on it. But we're poisoning our future, and we can't let this continue.